Okay, let's talk about our first client, Lisa, and we're going to look at the focus of our short essay question around listing your data in your key missing data. So first, I just want to point out that the way I the way I take my instructor notes and my own write-ups for this is just the same way I would have you do it. So you're watching the video, a printed out version of what I had done. And I'm taking notes, right? So, because what we want to do is make sure we're capturing the nonverbals as well as the client's verbal report, right? So, all those are we're capturing all of those, and that's what makes the video aspect nice. So, let's come back to what I took from my notes here, and I'll go over, for the sake of instructor feedback, what I found to be most pertinent. So you can look through here and like as I pointed out, I'm watching the video, taking notes, making sure I'm getting the nonverbal data as well as the client report, right? And so a couple things. One of the things that I wanted to point out was this. Where she says that she normally looks so smart. So that's, and I didn't know this until I watched this a few times myself. So that's an Australian term for looking disheveled. So if you're smart, that means groomed and put together. So just so you know what that means in this context. So um, so some of the things that jump out in terms of key data and also safety concerns are her um, concern about having cameras on her to where she's sleeping outside, and that she may have transmitters within her. So the sleeping outside creates, I think one of the things that's good about this particular case with our fictional client, Lisa, here, is to provide some illustration. And a lot of times when we talk about, making sure that we're capturing pertinent data, not just about their diagnostic picture, but also about their safety and what our intervention planning should look like, as well as a diagnosis, is that people can be people don't have to be actively threatening to harm themselves or someone else or people in general to be to have a significant safety issue. In Lisa's case, there's really not necessarily any immediate concern there's no indication that she has any intent to suicide. However, there may be some real intent and some real concern for us that she may harm herself in an attempt to extract some kind of device or transmitter or camera that she perceives might be within herself. And then actually, that's in my ER days. We had someone come in who had actually done significant harm to themselves with no suicidal intent, but rather responding to internal stimuli and delusion beliefs that they had a monitoring device within them that they needed to extract. So the other thing that I wanted to point out, and then so there's other issues with her sleeping outside. We don't know what the elements are there. So if there's an extreme heat or extreme cold condition currently, that would be a concern. The other thing is that she's scared, and I think in my notes here, but she indicates that she's sleeping with a knife or some kind of weapon, not because not because she's intending to hurt somebody, but because she's scared, and in that way, there's lots of different potential concerns in terms of a neighbor or a neighbor who attempts to initiate contact with her directly or calls law enforcement, and that leads to an unfortunate incident with law enforcement. So those are kind of things we keep in mind as we're collecting the data for about Lisa, what she's saying and what we're observing. The other thing I wanted to point out in terms of collecting data is the use of substances with medication and or with a with a history of what appears to be a clear history of some serious mental illness, um, those substances are going to make her condition worse. And I know you know that. Um, One of the things that I did want to point out, if you're not aware, is that, well, actually, I should say it this way. So my experience has been when you have someone who's taking a combination of quote unquote uppers and downers. So in this case, um, stimulant, I think methamphetamine she's taking, which is a stimulant based drug, and then marijuana as a as a depressant, central nervous system depressant drug, that can wreak havoc on a person's mental health. Like that's there's something about that, and this is just personally, from personal observation. There's something about that sort of roller coaster up and down with taking a stimulant type of drug and then a central nervous system suppressant or depressant type of drug like marijuana really create, even without somebody with a mental health history, really can create a mental health problem. Or so in terms of key missing data, I think one of the big things is evaluating her supports, getting more information about her supports. Some of this may be a judgment call on our part based on the information we have. Are her parents supportive? Does this friend or boyfriend Jonah appear to be supportive as best we can tell, or not? Or is he potentially a threat? So I think evaluating those symptoms. I think also obviously getting a little bit more about her mental health history, and then any physical history. The one thing that would be good to know, if we can ascertain that from Lisa or from other means, is if she's had any history of head injury. So although that's not likely, and certainly given what we have so far, and not likely the intention of the script, that's probably not involved here. But that would be the kind of thing that'd be just good to ask about to rule it out. Okay, so that's my instructor feedback in terms of listing your data, and the key missing data. Not just, and for our first case here, not just, okay, here's what I got out of my observation of the video with Lisa, but also sort of how I bring this stuff together. Okay, so I hope that's helpful to you.